So what's good, homies? It's your man, Dr. BOA. You know, a lot of times we hear men talk about how the alpha male doesn't exist, and if you were alpha, you wouldn't have to say you were alpha. While at the same time, these same men call themselves omega, and sigma, and beta, and theta, and lambda, and nu, and all these epsilon, and all these other things, and foxtrot, golf. They call themselves everything. Men are allowed to call themselves everything except alpha. And one of the greatest opponents of alpha energy has been Boyce Watkins. And he stooped to all kinds of measures to invalidate what we know to be true about building your alpha energy. But what he done this time is probably the most egregious thing he's ever attempted. So what he's done is he's pulled some woman's post. And you know, when women talk about what a man is and how a man should be and all of that, real men, alpha kings don't listen to what women have to say about what men should be because women barely know what women should be. But there's a clip going around, and Boyce made a long soliloquy about it after he played it, where this woman is going back, rehashing this story about how this guy created the term alpha male while he was looking at wolves and all of these crazy things. And though that may be true about one particular study, the term alpha male was not created by this guy. And secondly, all of the information that they gave is going to be refuted by me today. Why? Because I'm a wildlife expert. I'm a wildlife photographer. I study animals, always have. I go to places that most people don't want to go, or most people are afraid to go, and encounter things that most people don't want to encounter in order to get the perfect shot of animals in their natural essence. And so I study animals all around the world. And while they're trying to refute alpha energy and the alpha male's presence with this study of wolves, we're going to talk about societies where we know for a fact alpha males are present. Some of the most intelligent animals at that. So let's listen to this video, man, and we'll come back and, matter of fact, we'll dissect this joint while it's going on, man, because it's pretty long. So y'all check this out, man.
There is no such thing as an alpha male. I am so glad that you asked this question because it is such a teachable moment. The term alpha male was created by an author named David Meck, who wrote a book in the 1970s called The Wolf, The Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species. He studied wolves in captivity and noticed aggressive behavior from the males towards each other and the pack in an effort to dominate, and he called them alpha males. Years later, in 1999, the same author came back and debunked his own theory and, in fact, begged the publisher to stop creating and printing his original theory. How did he do that? He studied wolves in the wild. And in their natural state, they did not exude this aggressive behavior and need to dominate. So you see.
Now, let me help y'all understand something. In the wild, when you see a wolf pack, that pack is not made up of individuals who just come together. That pack is made up of a mother, father, and their offspring. So that's a family. A wolf pack is a family of wolves. It's not a pack that just came together from wild wolves banding together. It's not where a wolf went over and took over a pack like lions go and took over a pride. Now there's an animal that's an alpha male for you. So when you look at this one study of this one animal, okay, it's easily explainable. I don't understand how he didn't know that. How are you going to go study wolves and you have no idea that a wolf pack is based on a family, a mother and father and their offspring? In essence, still an alpha male and alpha female, because in my household when I was growing up, my mom and dad were the alpha male and alpha female, right? So still the same principle. See, violence is not what makes you alpha. So just because some guy says, okay, well, I'm gonna call him the alpha male because he's violent, he's the one that assumed that alpha means violent. No one ever said alpha means violent. No one ever says alpha means any of these distinctions that are attributed to it right now. But I will say this: if you go into the wild, there are several different species of animals that do indeed have an alpha male. And sometimes those encounters do get violent. That's just the way it is. So you're not going to take one group of animals who has a reason to be a pack. They're a family. They're not a pack. There's a wolf family, and dispute all of these other animals that do have an alpha. Let's continue.
So you see, most self proclaimed alpha males are the most emotionally immature and aggressive because they are attempting to mimic behavior that only happens in captivity.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If you're a man in this society and you're going to listen to a woman tell you what a man should be, you're dumb. Would you listen to a mechanic tell you how to fly a fighter jet? No. Would you let a swim instructor teach you how to hang glide? No. Would you let a barber do open heart surgery on you? No. So why would you let someone who's never done something, never seen it done well, never seen it done correctly, doesn't understand what it takes to be one, tell you what it should be? See, the thing about being self-proclaimed, everyone can self-proclaim themselves anything, but you had better not self-proclaim yourself alpha. If you don't, and listen, we live in a society that tells you
You got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe it, who else is going to believe it? If you don't think it, who else is going to think it? You got to present yourself to the world the way you see yourself and demand that they accept you that way. You got to create your own image. You got.
Then they turn around and say self-proclaimed alpha male. Let's keep going.
This is what we know as toxic masculinity.
There's that term, toxic masculinity. I'm going to be honest with you. When do you ever see men behave like that? When is the last time, if you're not in the hood, when is the last time you've seen men behave that way? If they weren't at a party or club inebriated. Like in regular society, where do we see men be overly aggressive and always into it and always attacking one another and doing all these things? Where do we see that? No man who has ever said, I'm alpha, behaves that way. It's all a television image. And here we have a woman trying to refute it. And I guarantee you, she's probably a single woman. So if she knows so much about men, how come she can't keep one? What she should be focusing on is telling women how to get a man, how to keep a man, how to enjoy a man, how to be a woman. Let's keep going.
The alpha male does not exist.
Now, before we get into this, isn't it ironic that here's a man who proclaims he has male talking points, man talking points, masculine talking points, and the only people who support his talking points when it comes to masculinity are women. Because women want toxic masculinity. Women want soft men. Women want passive men. Women want men who look over their flaws and accept them for what they want to be instead of accepting them for what they actually are. Let's listen to Boyce.
You know, let me tell you what I like about that video. I didn't know that whole theory in terms of what happened with the alpha male and all that. What I like about her analysis is that it helps people understand that manhood, it's a lot more complex than.
Now I want you to listen to this man say that this woman helps people understand about manhood. Let's think about that. This woman helps people understand about manhood, something she don't even understand, something she don't even know. See, this guy will do anything in his power to make you young men believe that you can't become the most alpha version of yourself, that you should not be striving to become the most alpha version of you, that you should not be striving to become everything. I define what alpha is. From now on, moving forward, Dr. BOA defines what alpha is. It's about you becoming the best version of yourself. It's about you gaining control of your faculties. It's about you being controlled by your spirit. It's about you having your mind govern your body, which is then governed by your spirit. And you have to keep in mind that it's about you living a certain quality of life. It's about you living a life that's pleasing to the Most High. It's about you living a life that's pleasing to yourself. It's about you living a life where the people around you reap benefits from you simply being in their presence. Now, how many times did you hear me say anything about being violent or aggressive or any of those things? Now, if we have to be, we will. But that's not what being alpha is about. Being alpha is about dominating your own environment internally. Then that dominance exudes in your everyday activity, your everyday interactions. But it's a confident dominance. You're not dominating by force. You're dominating because your presence demands that he be paid attention to, because you carry yourself, you promote yourself, you perpetuate your energy in a way that most people have never seen before. And it's all positive. Let's keep listening to Boyce.
And thumping your chest, how many women you slept with, whether you drinking your liquor and smoking a cigar and growling at everybody.
Now, how many times do we talk about that in the alpha sphere? See, I'm starting to think that this guy is just attempting to take deliberate shots at the alpha sphere, because we don't talk about these things. As a matter of fact, I don't hear any alpha men talk about those things. I do agree that men who talk about those things and claim to be alpha are not alpha, but I don't ever hear any men claiming those things, proclaiming that they're alpha. The only people who have a problem with the term alpha male is people who are not that, and women who look back in their past and realize they had that and slept on it, and now they stuck with beta male simp anginas. Let's try to listen to Boyce on out, man.
Manhood is about, among many things, in my view, effective leadership. And one thing,
effective leadership. Now let's talk about these animals that are alpha. Look at a chimpanzee troop. There's an alpha. Some of the smartest animals on the planet. Chimps are absolutely smart. Their societies are almost human-like. But there's an alpha male. But he can be overthrown. But there is an alpha male. Lion pride. Yes, there is an alpha male. And when that alpha male comes in and takes over pride, he doesn't go in to fight those females. He gonna keep them from killing him. Because here's the thing: if a male lion goes into a pride and there's 10 females there, those 10 females could kill him. But he don't want them to kill him, and he don't want to kill them. So he does just enough aggression, just enough passive behavior to let them, get their jollies off and feel like they're fighting for something, because they do know he's going to come in, what he's going to do to their cubs. And so he lets them do what they're going to do. He kind of lays back a little bit, and he slowly introduces himself to the pride and integrates himself into the pride, into the leadership position. Everything that you should be doing in life, you look at how the lion takes over a pride. Yes, you got to go in, you got to dethrone the old male, but that's only part of the battle. That pride still has to accept you. They have to accept your leadership. They have to accept that you're going to lead as good or better than the previous leader. They have to accept that you're going to protect as well or better than the previous leader. That's what being alpha is. That is leadership. The alpha male represents leadership. Let's keep going.
that I learned over time from being in a leadership capacity, whether it's as a professor at a university or a CEO of a company, is that leadership really is service.
A professor at a university is not a position of leadership. You're a teacher, but you're an employee. You're not a leader. The president of that university is the leader. The athletic director is in a leadership position. The dean is even in a leadership position. The head of a particular department is in a mid-level leadership position. But just being a professor doesn't put you in a position of leadership. You can be fired tomorrow. You still have to play by rules. Now, we all have to some extent, play by rules, because we live in a society that's full of laws. And the punishment for breaking some of those laws are very strict, very intense. But when we talk about being in a position of leadership, your position or plight in life has nothing to do with leadership. The first person you got to be able to lead is yourself. You got to be able to lead yourself to keep yourself from making beta male simp angina mistakes. You got to be able to lead yourself to keep yourself from letting your emotions guide you the way this guy lets his emotions guide him a lot of the times. We ain't going to get into his relationship. I haven't talked about that enough. But here's a man who lets his relationship, lets his emotions guide him a lot of times, and we see it publicly. So for him to be sitting here trying to give a lecture on leadership, leadership is about logic. It's about perseverance. It's about doing the right thing, even when the right thing is the tough thing to do. It's about doing the right thing, even when your heart tells you to do something else. It's about doing the right thing, even when your attachment to someone tells you to do something else. Let's keep going.
It's about listening to other people. It's about forming, seeking out, nurturing, developing, and repairing healthy relationships. So, what the sister was saying about the whole alpha male concept being linked to a type of emotional immaturity, I can't agree with that. It's not to say that there aren't some.
See, here's the thing about emotional immaturity. If you don't do something weak where your emotions are in control of you, they say you're emotionally immature. They say an emotionally mature man will take his wife back if she cheats on him. That's not emotional maturity. That's masculinity inefficiency. That's a deficiency in your manhood. They say an emotionally mature man will take on a woman who has multiple children by multiple men. That's not emotional maturity. That's masculinity inefficiency. That's a deficiency in your manhood. They say an emotionally mature man will not cut off people who don't mean him any good. He'll keep forgiving people over and over and over and over again. That's not emotional maturity. That's beta male manginitis. See, what we represent here in the alpha sphere, man, we represent the maturity of masculinity. We represent the maturity of manhood. We represent the maturity of your development. And the main thing you have to do is accept the reality of life. And the reality of life, there ain't no woman on the planet know nothing about being a man. Even those who try to live as men don't know nothing about being a man. Let's keep going.
I would say don't oversimplify it. Really, if a man is a leader and he's an effective leader, he's going to gain the ability to earn the honest, genuine respect of the people that he leads. And you don't get that by bullying.
Let me tell you something. Sometimes leadership is done by choice. Other times leadership is done by force. You're always going to have people that try to buck what you're doing. You're always going to be at the top and have somebody trying to knock you off. There's always somebody jockeying for your position. So if you're going to be soft and a simp like this, yeah, somebody going to always knock you off your position. Like we saw the picture of him and his old lady with Willie D. We already know what that looks like. Here's a man who shouldn't be giving this lecture about what it is to be a man. He shouldn't be giving that. Now, he could talk about what he learned in school. He could talk about being a professor. He could talk about being a business owner. He could talk about being a podcaster. He could talk about being a public speaker. He could talk about all of that. But when it comes to what represents manhood and masculinity, he's just not the guy who should be giving this talk. He's not that. He should be over here in the Alphasphere learning. He comes over here, teaches us some things about what he knows, and we teach him some things about manhood and masculinity. See, the bottom line is you can find yourself in a position of leadership. That's the easy part. You can just be in the right place at the right time and have the right connection and be thrust into a position of leadership that you're not even qualified for. Keep in that position of leadership. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you're a boss, there's a healthy dose of respect and also a healthy dose of fear. Fear of the consequences of crossing the boss. Fear of the consequences of not doing what the boss wants you to be doing, what the boss demands you to do, what the boss commands you to do. There's always a healthy dose of fear when it comes to leadership. If you're in the military and you don't follow a direct order, there's a fear attached to that, a fear of the consequences. And the only people who can give you consequences are the people in positions of leadership. Let's keep going.
People or dominating people with every available term. Walk softly, carry a big stick. That might be one of the ways to kind of look at it. Or if you think about just what it means to be powerful and successful, the most powerful people that I've seen are not lone wolves who dominate and disrespect.
See, here's the thing. You can't talk about a lone wolf. If you're a lone wolf, there's nobody around to dominate and disrespect. A lone wolf is on his own. A lone lion is on his own. A lone snake is on his own. A lone man is on his own. The lone ranger is on his own. So, when guys talk, they just run their mouths and say illogical things. If you're a lone wolf, there is nobody around for you to dominate. You're a lone wolf. That means you're alone. Like you're out there doing your own thing. You're a renegade. None of these distinctions that they're trying to apply to alpha really applies to being an alpha male. They're just making up the most negative things they can sound, the most negative images that society has ever shown and attached it to being an alpha male. Like most of this stuff they talk about come out TV and social media, man. They don't know anything about what they're talking about. Because I know plenty of successful men, very successful men. And the majority of those men are fairly aggressive. And I'm not saying they're just walk around, beating their chest and all that. But when it comes down to business, this is the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. Here's the thing about being a boss and being in a position of leadership. You ain't got to be doing a whole bunch of compromise. If you know you're doing the right thing, you just do the right thing. You don't worry about getting everybody on board with the right thing, because if you can make the call to do the right thing, you make the call. When the results come, that's how you get your respect from people as a leader. You flex your leadership skills, and when those leadership skills turn out to be successful and turn out to be the right thing, that's how people respect you, regardless of how you have to do it. There is no leader who gets respect when all he does is pacify the people he's leading. Your job as a leader is not to pacify the people around you. Your job as a leader is to surround yourself with people who accept your leadership. If you can't surround yourself with the people you choose, then you're not a leader. You just got a job that somebody else is delegating you responsibilities that they don't want. Let's keep going, man, and finish this off.
The most powerful people I've seen are people who have healthy relationships and connections with others who will have their back when it's time to go to war. So when I tell you guys that relationship development is incredibly important, it's something you want to focus on and think about, I really mean that. And
that's about it. Now, we will agree with that. We will agree that developing relationships, developing positive relationships is definitely something that we should all focus on. But those positive relationships should be developed on your terms. You understand? If you got to develop a relationship with someone on their terms, it's not a positive relationship for you. Your goal is not to be at the mercy of someone else. Because as a leader, you make the decisions, but you also take on the brunt of the responsibility when things go wrong or when things go right. You got to share the glory. Y'all comment down below and let me know what you think about this topic, man. I look forward to hearing what you men have to say. I'm out.